Incorporated is focused on the ITAD industry, which stands for IT Asset Disposition, specializing in recycling IT items through reuse, such as data tape media, hard drives, data storage hardware, networking devices, and telecom systems. They also offer data destruction services and third-party maintenance and data storage, as well as network hardware. Their vision is to reduce 99.9% of the world's IT materials by recycling, reuse, and energy-generating disposal. Brian Musil, who is the president and CEO, is joining our show to discuss his firm, as I mentioned in the open, as a part of our crazy summer series on fast-growth Orange County companies. And it is a summer day out there, ladies and gentlemen. Brian, welcome to Critical Mass Radio Show and Podcast.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me on.
It's good to have you here. I'm excited. Let's start talking about the firm. Can you tell us what makes big data supply unique in your space in the minds of your clients and your prospects?
Well, it's kind of funny. I was just the other day, I was looking through our customer service surveys and came across one, and it was one of our IT resellers, and they, she said it was a total wow factor. And so it intrigued me, and I wanted to look at, what did they buy? And it turns out it was just some LTO tapes,
Okay.
So it's kind of funny, a total wow factor with that. But
well, that's good if something as regular as tapes like that are purchased and the consumer is impressed by it.
Yeah, and I think it comes down to the experience, really, down to, instant pricing, price guidance that we give MSPs and, consultants, same day shipping, instant tracking, invoices, stuff like that. And our proprietary processes of erasure and just the way we package things, aesthetics and fulfillment, just across the board. That's what I feel kind of helps to differentiate, us for sure.
Right. And that's why I wanted you on the show, because you've had impressive growth over the past few years. I'm always curious here on Critical Mass Radio Show and Podcast to talk to entrepreneurs who have been able to figure out how to not just build a fast-growing company for a year, but to continue to reap the benefits of a business model that is delivering better than average growth. And you're certainly doing that with your company, Big Data Supply. Where are you most successful? Like, what are your niches, Brian, that you go into with the business?
Well, it's definitely still our data tape media,
Okay.
Magnetic media, like LTO 3592 type of enterprise media, mostly used for archiving. But what we do is we go out to companies really of all sizes, medium to large enterprises. We purchase their used tape media and IT hardware for sure. But then we bring it in-house. We do all the data erasure. We test it, of course, and then repackage and resell through our network of resell channel partners. And they're all like MSPs and IT resellers, and we buy and sell close to 100 countries right now. Yeah.
So you really have a channel strategy. You're working through a reseller channel to get the products back on into the market. You say tapes, and in my mind, I'm sort of thinking like everything has gone to some type of digital storage and drives, etc. But you say for long-term storage, tapes are still the preferred platform?
Right. Yeah, you'll see a lot of companies are using tiered strategy.
Okay.
We'll go from the servers to and then archive to tape. So yeah, there's definitely, and as far as archiving long term, it just doesn't make sense to leave it on a spinning disk or anything.
Right.
It takes energy. So definitely magnetic media is the preferred way of archiving.
So you're in the business of not only hardware, but also the media as well.
Absolutely.
Buying it, cleaning it up, refreshing it, repackaging it, and remarketing it.
Yeah, so tape media, even hard drives.
Even hard drives.
SATA, SAS. So we're doing all of that.
Okay. And so it kind of comes out of one company, gets through your system, gets back into another company through a reseller channel.
Right.
That's kind of the business.
It's a secondary market. Yeah.
So there's a secondary market for. So my assumption, tell me if this is even right, that the big companies, maybe a utility, Southern California Edison, whatever, they have these facilities with this equipment, and for whatever reason they're upgrading it, and rather than trashing it, they're selling it, and you're finding people in either in the U.S. or you said 100 other countries that say, hey, that's a viable, may not be good for Southern California Edison, but it works just fine for me.
Yeah, exactly. So
Okay.
Latin America is a big user of old tapes. The U.S. military, or all military, I mean, they don't upgrade as fast as we are, as a regular company that does. So believe it or not, we're still selling some of the old reel-to-reel stuff.
Right. And I think that's an amazing business model to be in, because a lot, especially in technology, because a lot of times entrepreneurs want to go to the front end, the leading edge of the technology where all the energy is and maybe the media is, but maybe the margin's not there.
Right.
Right. Maybe the margin's a little further down in the life cycle.
Yeah, I will have to agree with you.
Well,
and
but we're here to talk about top line revenue growth, not profit margin. We're not doing that, but
Right.
it's good to know you can make money at it as well, right?
yes, we're definitely it's a viable business for sure.
Yes. That's a great combination, right, ladies and gentlemen? You're growing the top line and you have a healthy bottom line. That's why I want to do this fast-growing Orange County-based companies, because we can learn lessons. Speaking of lessons, Brian, I wonder if you might be generous enough to share a suggestion or a piece of advice with the other entrepreneurs who are leading high-growth companies. And what can they learn from your experience leading big data supply?
As far as a lesson, I mean, maybe it's more for the startups, but I think be humble, continue to learn, utilize resources like coaches, sales coaches, EOS programs,
Right.
things like that. And definitely take care of your mental health. It's tough out there. So exercise, meditation, whatever it takes,
Right.
definitely do that. For myself, the saying, like, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time?
Sure.
Well, I take my day like that. I take a few key tasks that I have to complete, and it's amazing over time what you actually accomplish there.
The progress you can
Yeah,
make.
exactly.
Speaking of that, I'd like to kind of come back. You mentioned an acronym that we talked about when we met before that I wanted to feature here on the program, which is EOS. In your office, I've been to his office, ladies and gentlemen. He has a very nice library, business books and other things, and we started talking about traction and your early adoption in the company of putting EOS, the entrepreneurial operating system, into the business. Can you share a little bit about your experience with EOS?
Well, to me, it was really it made everything click. We live in a 90-day world. I mean, that's kind of made everything where there's so much to do when you could really take make an issues list of your biggest things that you need to tackle that maybe, you pick, say if your management team's 3 people, each of you get 2 to 3 rocks and some measurables to, complete those bigger issues. But, so every quarter we'll go out offsite and we'll go through this, hash it out in a whole day, and decide, these are the things we're going to tackle for this next upcoming quarter. Mm-hmm. And we get those measurables, and then we come back to the office, and every week we meet and see if we're on track, and we've got to get that done. So it's really, you look at it over a quarter or over several months, and it's amazing what you get done.
Right, through focus, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and one of the principles in Gino Wickman's book, Traction. So if you haven't read Traction, ladies and gentlemen, I would strongly encourage you to buy the book and read it. It's great reading. There's a whole library of books around Traction that are very interesting reading. But he talks about the term you said, which is this 90-day world. In his belief, it's that if you get much shorter than 90 days, you don't have enough time maybe to work on the strategic challenges. If you go much longer than 90 days, you start to lose focus on what you're supposed to do. And so he's kind of hit on this 90-day rhythm within the business to be working on these Stephen Covey-based rocks, right? The term comes from Stephen Covey and his belief that, and there's a video on Stephen Covey with rocks. If you haven't seen that, ladies and gentlemen, that's something well worth seeing as well. So there's a lot of great content that's underpinnings into this idea of an operating system. And it's great to hear that you can do it, and you did it early, which is benefiting you longer term as you scale, right?
Right. And I told you, we did it. We are self-implementers, so obviously we could probably do better with an implementer. But as we go, you read the book, you follow it, and it's a great book. It's really good there's always a shiny thing coming in front of you. So
Isn't that the truth?
to keep you, it's just put it on the board, and
Hello.
that's future. So we do that.
That is such a great point, Brian, because I have seen entrepreneurs who have a very successful company, but whether they're maybe bored with the challenge of it, or they get hit with some ideas of a latest book or something that a friend of theirs is implementing, and they sort of take their eye off of just the basic blocking and tackling, doing what you need to do
Right.
to wow your customers.
Right. Right.
Which
Absolutely.
is really the key underpinnings to growing your business. There's a lot of great IP out there, ladies and gentlemen, and I think Traction's been around for a while, and it's going to be around for a long time because the tools that Gino has developed are really just common sense practices to run a good business.
Yeah.
And empower your people and have them accountable. Right.
Right. And it's pretty simple, and I would suggest it to anybody to, I mean, it just makes you operate a little better. for
Well,
sure.
that, if we were ready, I would have had a gong run because we just had a great conversation. And as our loyal listeners know, whenever they hear the gong, that is a moment that we had a thoughtful conversation that you might want to go back and, oh, there it is. So we gonged Brian Musil, who is the president and CEO of Big Data Supply. So that was kind of a strategic decision that you made, which was to kind of build your business on a scalable system, and you chose EOS. I'm wondering if you look at the challenges that we all have them, even in a robust economy, we all have challenges. Can you think of a challenge that you are facing or you faced, and what are you doing about it, and sort of share that experience?
Well, if you're trying to scale your company, and you know how the market is right now as far as being able to hire people and good people is pretty tough right now. And the biggest thing is when you're in that kind of a situation like we are, not to veer from your core values and or hire people outside of that, because it never works out. We've kept people around for too long, and maybe they should never have been there anyway. But so our mantra is hire slow and fire fast, and that is a big challenge right now.
But you said something that is sort of the foundation of that, which is they don't fit your core values, which presupposes you know what you have core values. And
Right.
I mean, I'm not trying to be a smart person. I'm
Sure.
smart at it. I'm just
No,
trying
no.
to say, sometimes people haven't thought about that term, and they don't really kind of build their culture around what they as an individual believes and the values that others might share, right?
Right. Yeah, I think that you have to start there. We didn't in the beginning, but it goes back to EOS. It helps you develop those, and get your
Right, because
core
it does ask the
principles down.
questions, what are your core values?
Yeah.
Right, what are my core values, right? And
Right.
then you find a way, and it sounds like you're doing it in the interview cycle with new candidates, trying to figure out if they value the same things that you value.
Exactly. And then we do disc back testing. So you don't want to just, maybe somebody is aligned with your values, but then they don't fit with your team. You have to look at it that way too.
Yeah, and it is. It's a particular challenge, I think, for fast-growing companies because I call it the entrepreneur's dilemma. To get to the next level of revenue, you got to put some expense into the business, and sometimes the expense has to predate the revenue, so you got to kind of stretch it a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And you want to make the right hire because if you don't have the right person,
Yeah.
you got to go all the way back and start again, huh?
Right. Yeah. And right now people are definitely valuing themselves. So you really got to watch out, and you don't want to hire and overpay. And like you said, I mean, that's how a lot of companies can go out of business. You're hoping that something's going to work out. You put a lot of money into hiring and marketing, and you can't run on the hope.
Right.
Yeah.
Got to get the results to pay
Right.
for the increased expenses. All right. Well, we have a few more questions here on Critical Mass radio show and podcast. I think the conversation we just had sets us up really well for a question that I like to ask business owners when they're on the show and CEOs. It's our guiding principle question. I mentioned that we have a book on the guiding principles from a number of our past guests, but I wonder if you could share your core philosophy that you're using as you build and scale your company.
It does tie into kind of what we were just talking to, and not to sound too cheesy, but I feel like, my company is my home, and our employees are our family. And when we've selected our core values, and when when we bring in new people into our house, we all have to kind of agree this is what's going on. So really, we use the disc back personality tests, and we have to have a really good gut instinct, when we hire some people. But by doing that and including everybody, it really, makes for a good place to work, and, provides a great culture, I think.
So are you saying when you're interviewing candidates, you give the entire company an opportunity to talk
In a
to
way,
this person?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, if they're going to be on their team, for sure, they're going to
yeah.
meet, and we'll talk internally before and discuss and talk about the person, maybe meet with them a few different times too,
Right.
in different situations.
Well, look at you. That's
Yeah.
very sophisticated, because that is a best practice as well, ladies and gentlemen, which is to see them in different environments, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
With different eyes on them.
Right.
Yeah. And then see what other people picked up that you might have missed.
Yeah. Sometimes when you're excited about something, somebody else is seeing something else. That's
Right.
for sure.
Or when you have the pressure, I've got to get somebody in that job.
Yeah.
And as you said to answer the previous question, sometimes we begin to compromise.
Right.
But it's a long-term relationship, hopefully, with your employees.
Right.
Yeah, and when you gave me the tour of your business, you have a lot of what seem to be engaged employees.
Yeah.
Which I think is
Definitely.
the competitive advantage for companies, small companies to compete against larger companies, is to have people that actually like to come to work,
Right.
enjoy being there.
Yeah.
It rubs off on the customers.
Oh yeah. And it's not just like I told you, we're not here for me. We're here if the company wins, we all celebrate and have fun together. I mean, from any level of the company, everybody's, kind of involved in that. So
Seems like you enjoy this.
yeah, absolutely.
Is it? I mean, is it more fun than you thought it would be?
It is. I mean, it's also a lot more work than you thought it would ever be. But yeah, at the end of the day, I mean, there's peaks and valleys, but it's better. There's more peaks than valleys, so it's
right,
good.
right, and hence your growth
Right.
with big data supply. All right, so that's your guiding principle. If I have you back on, which I'd like to, Brian, at some point in the future, a couple years, a year down the road, what's going to be different? What's your vision for where you're taking your company in the future, sir?
Well, obviously, I think we're going to, capture some more growth in our current, segments, our core segments of data tape media, IT recycling. We've been this year, we've doing a lot more business with the government, and I feel we'll be more established in that pretty soon, next year or two. And then I do see a large opportunity in solar, the secondary solar market, panels and inverters and energy. I mean, this is a huge market that we see, and we've made some small steps in preparation for that. So I think by then, who knows, we'll probably have a good future in that as well.
Okay, so I want to take that back a level just to help our audience understand, and for me as well. You're looking at the solar industry like you look at the IT industry, in that there is installed equipment that could be cleaned up, retrofitted, and used by other people?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
I feel like and there's no data to wipe, so there's no security concerns. So, I mean, with that, it's definitely a parallel for what we're doing. It's not too far off. It's a shiny
Right.
object.
Right.
Solar, we all know it's huge. It's getting bigger, and somebody's got to be there to do what we do.
So like early generations of solar systems could be taken off of the roof, put a new system, a more efficient system, and then there's a market for the stuff that comes off the roof.
Absolutely.
Is what you believe.
Yes, there is.
Wow.
Definitely.
Is that perspective because you have a global perspective, selling into 100 countries, that you see that opportunity?
I mean, the channel that we're in, the broker exchanges that we have dealt with for so long, they are doing that. So I can't say this is completely my idea, but I see where they're going, and it does resonate, and I want to beat everybody to the punch on that.
Right.
Not only the used stuff. I mean, there's installers that didn't, they overbought, so they have extra solar
Okay.
left over. So
Right.
we could be the source to buy that back.
Wow.
Things like that.
Wow.
But with all of this, obviously, we'll have to definitely add some more key people,
Yes.
much larger facility here, and then
Yeah, because the panels are pretty big.
yeah, so we're thinking we'll have to have a massive facility somewhere in the Midwest or something
Wow.
to house everything and manufacture everything. So
See what I mean, ladies and gentlemen? Even when things are going well and you're growing, it's never easy. You always have something else that you're thinking about that's the unknown known, right? Things that you're working on.
but
And
that's the exciting part.
right. That's what keeps it kind of fresh and fun, I would think.
Absolutely.
All right. If someone would like to learn more about big data surprise, sorry, I was winding up too. It was going to be a great finish, ladies and gentlemen. Big data supply. How do they find you online?
Well, you definitely, with our website, bigdatasupplyinc.com. That's INC. And soon to come, solarrecycling.com.
Look at you. You got the website and everything.
Coming soon.
Okay. So you heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen, on the Critical Mass Radio Show and Podcast. Well, this has been fun. The time has flown by. I appreciate you coming in and sharing your story with our audience.
Yeah. Thank you for having me in. It's been a lot of fun.
My pleasure. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I also thank our engineer, none other than Mr. Paul Roberts, and our 3 producers, without whom we could not do this show each and every week. Joan Park, Crystal Nunley, and our newest producer here in the studio, behind the camera, Nicole Terry. If you'd like to connect with me, I would suggest we do it on LinkedIn. I'm Richard Franzi, Franzi. And until our next show, I hope all of your business decisions will move your company in a positive direction.
You have been